Hello class, good afternoon. Our topic for today is changing fractions to decimals.
So the first example is 1/2. Let's convert 1/2 into decimal. So the first thing that we need to do here is let's convert this one into decimal fractions. Or when you say decimal fractions, the denominators are power of 10. So let's make the denominator of this fraction as 10. So what number can we multiply to the numerator and the denominator to get a denominator which is 10? So in that case, we can multiply 5 to both numerator and the denominator. So we can get 5 tenth. So I will read 5 tenth. So if we're going to write this in decimals, you will just write it as 0.5 because we read this as 5 tenths. I will repeat 5 tenths. So that's it. That's one way of converting fraction to decimals. By getting their decimal fraction, then you can write it to decimals. I will repeat 5 tenths point 0.5, or we read this as 5 tenths. Next is using division. So how can we do it using division? Then 1 divided by 2. So as you can see, the dividend is bigger than the divisor. So 2 divided by 1. 2 divided by 1 is 0. 0 times 1 is 0. 1 minus 0 is 1. Then we can add 0 as placeholder, and don't forget to write the decimal point here. Then bring down 0. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. Then subtract, the answer is 0. So 1/2 is 0.5 or 5 tenths. The same answer when we convert it into decimal fraction or you divide it. So another example, 3/5 we will convert into decimals. The first thing that we need to do is to get the equivalent fraction whose denominator is power of 10. It means that the denominator can be 10, 100, 1000, 10,000, and so on. So 3/5, if we get the equivalent of 8 with the denominator of power of 10, just multiply numerator and the denominator by 2. So 6/10. Since 6/10 is power of 10, we can easily write this into decimal form. So 6 tenths, then we can write this as 0.6, or we read this as 6 tenths because this is the tenths place. That's why we read this as 6 tenths. Another example, fractions to decimal. So let's have another example. 3/16, let's convert it into decimals. Since we can convert it into power of 10, then we will just divide. 16 divided by 3 is 0. 0 times 16 is 0. 3 minus 0 is 3. Then bring down 0. Then don't forget to write the decimal point because we add another 0. So 30 divided by 16 is 1. 1 times 16 is 16. Then subtract, the answer is 14. Then add another 0. Then bring down. 140 divided by 16. What is the answer? So 140 divided by 16, the answer is 8. 8 times 16, the answer is 128. Then subtract, 0 minus 0 is 0. Again, 8 times 16 is 128. So since this is 0, we will borrow from 4. So 10 minus 8 is 2. 3 minus 2 is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. Next is bring down another 0. 120 divided by 16, the answer is 7. Then 7 times 16, it would be 112. Then after that, subtract. 120 minus 112 is 8. Then another 0. So 80 divided by 16, the answer is 5. Then 5 times 16, the answer is 80. So the decimal form of 316 is 0.1875. So let's convert these fractions into decimals. So we read this as 26 hundredths. 26 hundredths. So if we're going to write this, 0.26 tens hundredths. That's why we read this as 26 hundredths. Next, 83 thousandths. 83 thousandths. So how do we write this? Is this right? If you read this one, this is 83 hundredths. So this one is wrong. So we read it as, since we only have 2 digits and we have 1000 and the digits must be 3, we add 0 before 83. So tens, hundreds, thousands. And we read this as 83 thousandths. So let's proceed in decimal to fraction. Our first example is 0.15 hundredths. I will repeat, 0.15 hundredths. So if we're going to write this one into fraction, then we read this as 15 hundredths. So 15 hundredths. But you can see that this fraction can be simplified by dividing it by 5. So 15 divided by 5 is 3. 100 divided by 5, the answer is 20. So the fraction form of 0.15 is 3 over 20. Another example is 0.003 tens, hundreds, thousands. So our denominator is 1000 and the number is 3. So the fraction form of 3 thousandths or 0.003 is 3 over 1000, and we read this as 3 thousandths.
Answer Explore B on page 232. Write your solution on a sheet of paper. Take a photo of your answer. Send it via private message.